First, I just would like to ask you about your background.
I grew up in Westwood, Massachusetts, and then when I was 9 years old, I moved to North Carolina, New Hampshire. I'm the middle of 5 children. I have 4 siblings. I'm the middle. 3 are in education. 1 is a mental health counselor. My father was a professor. My mother was a sign language interpreter. My career started out as a successful entrepreneur, and then I ended up switching to, I realized my true passion was really in education. And for the past 15 years, I've worked in schools, the last 13 of which I've been an elementary school psychologist, and there's nothing I've found to be more rewarding. It's exactly what I thought it would be. Working with kids it's just wonderful. Fast forward, I met my wife in Boston, who's from Ukraine, and we have 2 wonderful children. We have a 6-year-old who's at Broadmeadow, and then we have a 5-year-old who's a pre-K student. I like to say my kids are born 1 year, 1 day apart, which never happens, but it's awesome. They love each other, but then they have their moments. So there's a lot of a lot of behavior management, but it's been wonderful. I mean, they're absolutely my world. We just moved to Needham a few years ago in 2022. And we love it here. We moved here for the schools. We knew that this was a community that was vibrant and had a great school district, and that's really why we came here.
Why did you decide to run for the school committee?
The way politics have shifted, at the federal level, has kind of motivated me, and then seeing really the shift from what's happened post-COVID with the social emotional development of kids. It was certainly we were in need before with school psychologists and counselors. But now it's just, since COVID's happened, the social, emotional, and behavioral needs of kids have just skyrocketed. I've never seen myself busier at my school and, talking to my, cohort of other school psychologists who work in other districts, same things. The needs are they're astronomical. And even if you think about all the needs, even if you think about, all the other school committee members, everybody talks about the importance of social, emotional development. And we know for a fact that social emotional development leads to academic success. So if kids don't, if they aren't feeling good about who they are, if they're not feeling connected to school, if they're not, if they don't have a relationship with somebody, then they'll never be able to access their academics. They need to feel good about coming to school, and they need to be able to be, you need to really make sure you address their well-being, first and foremost. So, I think, being a school psychologist, but also, being a parent has kind of given me that lens as to, what's needed at the elementary level where I work, but also I see from my own kids, lens, and, certainly talking to their friends as well. So that's really my platform, what I'm mostly interested in.
What do you believe are the biggest issues currently facing the district, and what do you think should be done to address those issues?
Sure. So there's a lot of issues going on right now in town. I think we could certainly start with the whole Pollard and what's going to happen with that, and the cost of $315 million is what they're predicting it's going to cost, which I think is actually probably a small number compared to what it's going to cost once we get to the actual building of it. At this point, they're saying it would be completed maybe 6 years from now, but I think I think the costs are probably going to be a lot more. So I think, where do we get the money from that? I think is certainly an issue. But I also think, what are really the cost drivers for such a project to cost that much money, which is probably going to end up being more. So I think, looking at that, but also it's important. That has to be done. The kids, certainly we're growing as a town, but we need a more modern space for the kids. And having all the middle schoolers within that, the new building, I think would be wonderful for them. Another issue that's a hot topic right now is the literacy, in Needham. Right now we're using Lucy Calkins' units of study, and the old version doesn't teach phonics. Yes, the district does use foundations and Heritage to supplement that, but they need to move beyond what they have right now and move a little bit quicker to the 4 programs they're currently piloting. So, which is great. The district is doing things about that. The school committee is doing things about that, certainly supporting that. But literacy needs to make sure to address all those students. It meets the needs of all the students. Another issue that we have going on is the after-school program. And although the school committee doesn't deal directly with the after-school program because it's outsourced privately, they can still advocate. So a big responsibility of the current school committee is to advocate for those things that are important to the community. So I think expanding those and making that more available to more parents within the community. I can tell you personally, we haven't made it into the after-school program 2 years in a row, which is really frustrating. And we are on, as soon as the portal opens up. So that's been really difficult. So when I think about one of the roles of the school committee member, it's really transparency and around the budget, and specifically making sure that we're really prioritizing essential services, special education, mental health resources, and classroom support. Those are areas we certainly don't want to take away from because they're so important. And when we do make cuts and we do look at the budget, we want to make sure that we're doing whatever is least impactful to students.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I think if we think about equity, because equity is certainly a hot topic, we need to really make sure that we're ensuring all students have access to the resources, opportunities, and supports they need to be successful in the classroom, no matter what their background is. That's super important. We really need to meet the needs of all of our students.